Good afternoon. Welcome everyone to the ELKR Rotary Club, the greatest Rotary Club east of the Mississippi. Are we east? Yeah, we're east of the Mississippi. 7 years, still getting that geography. It'll come. It'll come eventually. We'll get used to saying that. Okay, thanks everybody for being here. It is a non-rainy day outside, and as much as I love the rain dampening the ground and getting the flowers looking really good and the plants, I'm not complaining that it's not raining. It was wet. All right, excellent. Cope with that. It's just, I'm just tired of the rain. When you live outside a lot of the time, you definitely notice. Okay, Erwin didn't sneak in the last couple minutes here, did he? All right, Fran, Connor, can you come and give us some thoughtful words?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for being here. And I want to say a special thank you to all of you who so graciously accept my request when I ask for volunteers for invocation. And just to let you know, if you are ever interested in doing that, I will even help you find an invocation. You can just come up and read it. Raise your hand if you know how to read. Okay, good. Dr. Gallhunter, you can see that we're needing help here. So I hope that you've had an opportunity to get out this weekend and enjoy the weather. And I'm right with you, Eric. That really is. Yeah, but it brings amazing, beautiful flowers. So join me in this. This is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. For flowers that bloom about our feet, for tender grass, so fresh, so sweet, for song of bird and hum of bee, for all things fair, hear or see, Father in heaven, we thank thee. For blue of stream and blue of sky, for pleasant shade of branches high, for fragrant air and cooling breeze, for beauty of the blooming trees, Father in heaven, we thank thee. Amen. And aren't those trees so beautiful as you're out there driving around? Just praise God, the creator of the universe, for that. And you know, we live in Michiana. Don't throw tomatoes or anything, but it's probably going to snow again. And all those beautiful pink and white fruits might fall off the trees. That makes me so sad. Anyway, let's join with the Pledge of Allegiance. Of the United States of America, and to the republic for one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our corporate pledge. Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you very much, Fran. Invoking Emerson on it. That's a great one for today. Perfect. Very, very good. Okay, Andrew Harmon, he greeted you as we came in. Andrew, you want to introduce our guests, please?
Good afternoon. We have two guests joining us today. First guest is by Monica Baird. And Jim Rickoff as a guest.
Delighted to introduce our speaker's wife, Jody Stefano.
Charmaine, Jody, welcome. Okay. And by the way, everyone, Charmaine has, I think I've mentioned this, that I've just been a little slow in getting this process, but has submitted her application for Rotary membership. So we're excited to have Charmaine here today. Okay. If you have an announcement, please come to the front. And I will just mention that on May 14th, and I sent an email.
What are you barking about?
Another service opportunity. So
Were you
Tom
barking?
McCarthy's going to mention something for May 7th, but if you can't make May 7th, or if you can make May 7th, I would also like to do something on Saturday, May 14th. Please sign up to help us with the Girls on the Run 5K. There is a water stop, and we will be just volunteering at one of those tables. It's a piece of cake job. This is my kind of volunteering, where they set it up for us, they clean it up. We just have to be there, pour a little bit of water, and hand runners water as they go by. And we'll hope it's a really nice day, and we can actually just throw water on your face and make up by you. But this year, you recall that our international president for Rotary, one of his main areas was empowering girls. And Girls on the Run is a fantastic organization for that. And we can support them with that. So if you have any questions, I emailed the link today. You're actually going to sign up through the Girls on the Run. They're pretty official, which is a good thing. And there is a background check. So if you're worried about anything on that coming back, you might want to just you should avoid that. Thanks to those who came to the Rotary member refresher that we had at Hotel ELKR I think it was maybe last week or even the week before. I've got another one on the scheduled for Thursday, May 19th. I know it's almost a whole month away. I'll send an email out. We're going to do that one as a coffee in the morning at 8:30, I believe, Thursday, May 19th. And great time to discuss the Rotary membership, whether you're new or whether you're new and fresh at heart. This is a great way to kind of engage with some of your fellow Rotarians and learn about the club. So I'll send a little more out about that. And right now, the donations committee, if you're on that donations committee, please take a look at the email that Bill sent that has all of those in there, and get your list back to him, please. Next Monday, we've got Sheriff Jeff Siegel will be coming, and thanks to our May speaker getter, Tom Shaw, for getting the programs together for me. And Tom, you have it announced.
I'm really glad you got the background check that you do for the Girls on the Run thing. I've got an event that anybody can participate in it, regardless of your background. We'll even take sergeants. So, any of our sergeants can even qualify for this. It's the May 7th is our County Road 6 cleanup day, so I've got a sign-up sheet for you. I'll send it around. If you haven't signed up yet, please do. We still need about a dozen people to be on it. So we're going to be meeting, the West at the Cleveland Little League. We meet there at 8 o'clock, or we meet at the Northland Corporation on East County Road 6. So both of them are at 8 o'clock. And again, we need about a dozen more, so I'll send around a sheet. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. And Tom has assured me that it will not be raining on Saturday, May 7th. So you can put that on your calendar. No rain, beautiful morning, great day for picking up a little bit of garbage and making those sections of road look awesome. I mentioned Charmaine Torma, who's up for membership consideration. There'll be someone relocating to ELKR from the Valparaiso Club. Her main name is Mary, I think it's Kafka, K-A-C-C-K-A. She's actually taken a role with the city, which is very exciting, but she is a Valpo Rotarian, and for the immediate future, she's going to be commuting back and forth to Valparaiso, just staying here during the week. She is looking for a space to stay. So it's just overnight. It doesn't have to be, she mentioned to me, it could be an extra room. This is probably offensive, but that mother-in-law, extra space that you have out behind your house, if you've got one of those available. But she's starting May 2nd, and she is looking into joining our club. She's got to make sure it's okay with her employer, but we're excited that that's a possibility. So I'll send that out too, and if you know of any place that Charmaine might look for a place to stay, I'm not sure how long that she's going to be doing that, but I'll let you know. We have a tremendous history of service from some of our members that have been with the club a long time, and we've been featuring a few of those folks. And today, I would like to invite Mo Jacobson up to give us a couple minutes about his experience at Rotary. Mo joined a Rotary Club. I'm not sure which was your first, Mo, so that's why I'm not. So I'll just say a Rotary Club on officially January 1st, 1970. 52 years. 52 years. Fascinating. I'd say I remember those times, but
You're saying I'm older than you?
I'll stop there. All right.
You think, yeah, it's actually a little longer than that. I just don't remember. It's too long ago. So I've got about 2 minutes to give you 50 plus years worth of experience in Rotary. There's no notes, but I do have a quote that I just lost. Here's the short story of the quote. The best cure for ignorance is travel. And how does that relate to my time in Rotary? I've just had a terrific time in Rotary. I've met people from all over the world, sometimes in their homes, sometimes in my home. Maybe one of my proudest accomplishments is that both of my kids have been involved in different Rotary programs. My youngest son is a Rotarian, has worked through the chairs as I did earlier. And there's what got me involved initially in Rotary. I was on a group study exchange team, went to Israel, spent 5 weeks there, met people from just all over the place. Stayed with a Arabic family, Muslim in Bethlehem, in addition to many folks at different places throughout Israel. We were treated just royally. I was so impressed. I felt quite important. It was an experience of a lifetime. And then when I came back, I decided I needed to be involved with Rotary. Rotary is a uniter, I feel. It brings us together regardless of our political differences, our geographical differences, and perhaps other orientations. We have a common bond is what I've felt throughout the years within Rotary. Most recently, 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to be on a friendship exchange friendship exchange to Brazil. Remarkable people. They were supposed to be here last year, but COVID, of course, put that down. They were going to be here this summer, but unfortunately, even though they're free to travel, they can't get their travel papers put together for at least 9 months. They're backed up over in Brazil, apparently. So next year, and at that time, perhaps some of you would like the opportunity to become acquainted with some of our international Rotary friends. I'll make announcements about that when the time comes. Rotary has given me an opportunity to be involved not only in local projects, but international projects, of course. I've been in 3 clubs, in addition to having made up at many clubs, made up at this club more than any other club over the last 20 years. And I'm delighted to be a member of this club now. I guess that's it. If there's a question, I'll take it.
Thank you, Mo. That's a cool way to get started, going to Israel. It seems like one of those experiences that could really hook you on something for life. Thank you for sharing that, and Mo, thanks for your service. You know, everyone's Rotary experience is different, whether you've been 50 plus years or you just joined. it feels like there's an opportunity for everyone. That's the sort of thing that we want to create here. So thank you for sharing that. You're an inspiring experience with this too. So appreciate that. All right. Every week we try to raise some funds to help local not-for-profits in furthering our mission in the community. And we do that through Sergeant's Findings. And today we have a very special sergeant. Julie Cotton, come on up.
I appreciate your warm and round of applause there. So today, in honor of our guest speaker, I thought, how fun would it be to raise fines that are in and around the issue of judge and judgment and judging, to be a judge, to participate in the act of judgment. So here we go. If you were at our Thirsty Thursday, would you please stand? Well done, well done. Whoever's standing, you do not have to pay $1. Anyone at your table does. And if you would please, Steve Poe, stay standing. We got to chat about, well, you can sit, it's fine, you sit. So Steve and I had a conversation at this event about golfing. Who are my golfers in the room or online? Who are my golfers? You can raise your hand or you can stand, great. Keep your hand raised if you judged the weather appropriately and were able to golf more than twice in the last few days. Fantastically. All right, fantastic. But for those of my golfers who did not judge the weather appropriately and maybe didn't golf at all or only golfed once, please pay $1. That goes for online too. Remember, you can go online to our website and give that way. All right, Miss Candy Yoder, would you please stand for us? Thank you. Thanks for coming out to the Wellfield Botanical Gardens for our lovely Earth Day event. Thank you, Eric, for sponsoring that. But Candy, I don't think you judged when was appropriate to leave. Right, so Candy missed the photo op. She missed the photo op, so Candy, that's going to cost you $1. And anyone else who missed the photo op or missed the event altogether, you can pay $1 as well. Who else? Anyone ever missed the party, didn't stay in time for the party, has a FOMO or a fear of missing out? Anyone ever missed an event like that? Nobody of any kind? Only Fran? Fran's the only one? Well, if you have missed out on an event because you misjudged the time it would take to drive there, maybe you left too early, pay $1. Thank you. And Judge Rickoff. Now, Judge, I want to honor this honorable judge we have here. He did such a great job. He's retired, and our guest at the Wellfield fully put up his tent and a cot. You may have seen the pictures on our Facebook page. If you have not, I invite you to check them out. Judge Rickoff demonstrated so finely what it looks like to retire in grace. So Judge, no fine for you. Although I will say, Judge, go ahead and keep standing, because I heard from you at this event about the Ruth Mirror, and this goes for all of our nonprofits in the area. Did you know that our Rotary Club is now featuring your events? Our marketing committee is going to accentuate events you have coming up. Judge, Ruth Mirror had a fabulous concert on Thursday. And how many were in attendance?
Approximately 22.
22, and it was a great, did anyone here go to the Ruth Mirror concert? Okay, great. You did? Oh, well, that's okay. So Judge, because you're representing the Ruth Mirror energetically, you're gonna pay a fine because we didn't know, and if we don't know, we can't go. So I'm in judgment about not being able to attend. I'll put my $5 in, it's fine. All right, so finally, we have Eric Garden. We had the pleasure of having a social event this weekend, and one of the definitions for judging, is to form an opinion about through careful weighing of evidence and testing of the premises. I just want to acknowledge you for your careful weighing of the environment in which we were in. It was a very loud environment. There were folks who had libations and were cacophonous in their aroused joy and enjoyment of one another. So kudos to you, no fine for your said judgment. However, if you have ever been someone who maybe has misjudged how loud you were speaking as a result of having a libation or two, please go ahead and pay $1. And if you have not maxed out yet, please do so. Thank you.
That was Julie's very subtle way of making sure that she knew that I was complaining too much about the loud people at the corner bar. Julie made a really awesome observation, though. It's just those little human nature things that I appreciate about Julie, and that being observant, and that she said, you know, as we were trying to hear each other, Julie and my wife and I, we were just sitting around a small table. We all leaned in to be able to hear and also to be able to project a little bit, which granted, in this day, we've gotten a little used to maybe keeping our distance, and there's something to be said for that as well. But she made that observation that we tended to do that, you know, as our personalities, not wanting to be too boisterous or cacophonous, which I will use that word again today, Julie, thank you for that. But that others, the louder ones that had a few libations, were the ones sitting way back in their chairs, talking to the back of the room and just making it really, really loud. So for your observations, Julie, my $5 in there for you for that. So that was great. Okay, excellent, thank you. And now for our speaker today, I will invite Judge Rickoff to make an introduction.
I'll try to make it a point not to be cacophonous. The Elkhart County Judiciary is one of the most important governmental functions in this county, and one of the least understood. Today, one of our local judiciary members is here to increase our understanding of some of those issues, and reminding us that the issues facing the county face each of us. Chris Pitaro was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. He was educated at New York University and then came here for law school at Notre Dame. Practiced law for 24 years in the Michiana area until he ran for judge in 2020. He was elected and took office on January 1 of last year. You'll recall that was a time when the country was in a certain state of turmoil because of COVID. On a personal level, Chris is what he calls a huge baseball fan. What that means really is that he has attended at least one game at every functioning Major League ballpark now, and in a dozen which are now gone. And he's just rubbing his palms for the next one that shows up. His love of baseball and ball sports goes back a long time. He's played softball since 1978, every summer. And for the last 15 years, he's played vintage baseball. He's married to Jody, he has 3 daughters, and parents don't rate their children one by one, do they? But Chris has a favorite. His daughter, Becky, has moved to Chicago, where she has an apartment less than half a mile from Wrigley Field with a free parking connection. So with that, it's my great pleasure to introduce my friend and now sort of colleague, Judge Chris Pitaro.
Well, thank you, Judge Rickoff, for that kind introduction. Thank you to Rotary for having me here today. A special thank you to allowing 2 Kiwanians to sit in the front table. And this is not in my script, but Judge Rickoff, thank you for describing your guest as the speaker's wife. I have to give you a little history. So this goes back to about 2007, 8-ish. Jody was relatively new in town. I had been here for a while, and we started dating, and Jody was Chris's girlfriend, later fiance. Then Jody had a hand in bringing a $150 million gift into town, and I suddenly became Jody's husband. Then I ran for judge, and she was Chris's wife again. And then she became Woman of the Year, and I was demoted to Jody's husband. So I'm happy to be back in the, yeah, there we go. Good stuff. So I'd like to talk to you today about 3 things. And since I was taught by both nuns and Jesuit brothers for 15 years, I'm going to abide by the basic paper writing, speech, brief rules. And that is, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. Then I'm going to actually tell you, and then I'll summarize what I've told you at the end. So, lest I have my knuckles smacked with a yardstick, here I go. 3 main things. I want to tell you a little bit about myself, including maybe who I am, and why being a judge of ELKR Superior 5 is a really good fit for me. Second, I want to tell you about the current state of ELKR Superior Court number 5. And thirdly, I want to talk about the new courthouse project and what that means for the realignment of the courts in Elkhart County into what will become divisions of both all 3 of criminal, civil, and family law. So first, a little bit about myself. Judge Rakoff already told you I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I grew up in a tight-knit Italian Catholic family. I lived with my maternal grandfather, grandmother, dad, mom, sister, brother, me. So I was the youngest of 7 people. Of the 4 adults in the house, no one went to college. My mom was the most book smart person. She actually got a high school diploma from a regular high school, went on to be a secretary. She was meticulous and gave me my OCD, so that's good. She also taught me a lot of life lessons about trying to be a caring person, etc. My dad was an extremely hard worker, but he realized halfway through high school he didn't really like books and writing and reading, and he transferred to a trade school, was an excellent mechanic and did that for a while. And then after he married my mom and had my sister and my brother, my mom kind of tugged at him. He needed to get a job that had health insurance for the kids. So he became a New York City fireman, but didn't want to put his love of cars away, so he continued to do that, bought a car lot, and then he worked 40 hours a week as a fireman, 60 hours a week at the car lot. So I learned hard work and good work ethic from my dad. My grandparents were great people. They both quit school when the Great Depression hit in 1929. They were almost 14 and almost 11 at the time. They never went back to school. And they worked, my grandfather worked for a furniture store for about 40 years. My grandmother was a seamstress from an early age in the New York City garment district. And we didn't waste anything in my house. I had 2 depression babies. So before we were done eating a dinner, we were already talking about what was being saved for tomorrow and how we were going to make that into a meal. So I learned to be frugal, fiscally responsible from my grandparents. All right, well, let's talk a little bit more about my growing up. The 7 people in my house always ate dinner together. I was very lucky. In fact, in my life, I've lived in 2 houses, the one where I grew up and the one where I am now. I had some dorms, some apartments and whatnot, but I'm really lucky to have that. And I had 6 other great people along with myself in my house. And, you know, when I think about my childhood, I wouldn't change a thing about it. But I realized when I got to law school, there were so many students in law school that had parents who were lawyers or judges or, you know, sophisticated business leaders. We didn't talk about fancy stuff around my house. We talked about the Yankees. We talked about if we should have put an extra pound of pasta in the pot because Chris and his friend were both there for dinner that night. And we talked about the next family gathering, etc. But I think that my family was very down to earth, very caring. And what I learned from them was that every person has infinite value and worth, and that people need to be treated with respect. I can recall a time as a teenager, I went to a traffic court hearing with my grandfather. We took the train from my part of Brooklyn to downtown Brooklyn. And we got there early and we were having a cup of coffee outside waiting to go in. And my grandfather made the comment, "I just hope the judge is nice." And that really stuck with me all these years later. And I've repeated that a billion times as I went through 2 campaigns. But I think being a nice judge is important. Now, am I nice all the time? No. Sometimes my patients get tried, and Jody will attest, I bite my tongue, and then I tend to explode. So yeah, there have been times when I told people what they did really wasn't appropriate and I didn't appreciate it. Absolutely. And do I say it forcefully? Absolutely. But my default method is nice. This is going to lead into point 2 here, but ELKR Superior 5 is one of the small claims courts for Elkhart County. And it also has a number of misdemeanor crimes, a lot of people who are unrepresented. So I often see people who are coming to court, they don't have a lawyer by their side, they might not know what's going on. And I consider it my job to welcome them, hear them, again, let them feel heard, and give them a fair shake. So I think that makes me a good fit for ELKR Superior 5. So, ELKR Superior 5. Let me back up a little bit more about myself first. So I started practicing in ELKR Superior 5 when Judge Rickoff was on the bench. I worked, when I started and got to town, I was at Chester, Poff, and Brotherson. And Bob Poff would often do some real estate development issues. He'd bring in apartment complexes, and then I kind of did the lower end work of doing the evictions and collections for a lot of the area apartment complexes. So I was in front of Judge Rickoff on a monthly basis for, I don't know, probably 8 to 10 years. And I've learned a lot of what I do right now. I model after Judge Rickoff because I always found him to be extremely respectful and kind. And there are words that I use today that I can hear Judge Rickoff saying in 1996, and I am trying to repeat them because I want to emulate him because I have a lot of respect for him. But my point was, I had some experience in the sport before I took the bench, and I kind of knew what I was getting into. Again, I already mentioned the small claims aspect and the misdemeanors, sometimes with unrepresented people. But my court, I'm kind of lucky. I handle criminal and civil cases only. There are other judges in town who, I think one might be online, who handles criminal and civil and family law as well, with divorces and fraternities and maybe some guardianships. Then there's probate matters. Right now, I'm just doing the civil and criminal, which I think is nice. I want to tell you a little bit more about how my court is structured. I spend a lot of time on the bench. If you have let's take a big environmental lawsuit, you might have a lot of behind the scenes motions getting filed and discovery being issued. In a small claims court, people come to the court and they kind of tell their story. So I'm there listening to the story, but it means I'm on the bench a lot. And I've done some math. I'm pretty much on the bench all day Monday, almost all day Tuesday, half a day Wednesday. And depending on if we have a 2-day jury or bench trial on Thursday, Friday, I might have Thursday and Friday all blocked up as well. If I do have that, if you do the math, that's 9 out of 10 segments or 90%. If I don't have that, maybe I'm happy with 50%. But on average, it's about 70% of my time that's on the bench talking. So I talk a lot of cough drops, a lot of glasses of water. That's my cue. But what we do currently in ELKR Superior Court 5 is we handle felony crimes on Monday mornings, misdemeanor crimes on Wednesday mornings, civil eviction collection matters on Tuesday mornings. I did mention criminal first. That takes up, again, the first 3 days. On Monday afternoons, we're hearing probation violations, which I want to share with you is really frustrating because I can't tell you how many times someone's been sentenced, let's say in February, they're given a year's probation, and I'm already seeing them back in April for probation violation. And my background was as a civil litigator, so handling the criminal matters was something new to me. I dabbled in it in the early or mid 90s as an intern, had a few cases and realized it wasn't really what I wanted to do as a practitioner. So it's been about 2 decades. So the first quarter of last year was a big learning experience for me. But as I learned, I'll tell you what I did. I was very lucky as a law student to have a distant family friend who was a judge in Brooklyn. And he took me under his wing and allowed me to intern with him, where I would go to court, watch what he did, and we'd talk about it afterwards. And it was really valuable to me. So last summer, we're not shelling out the dollars for paid internships in Elkhart County, but I had 2 students who said, I'm interested in possibly going to law school. Can I be an intern with you? And I said, sure. We've got online court watching abilities now. You can sign on to any court in the state. How about we do this? You watch my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we'll have coffee on Wednesday afternoons and we'll talk about it. And this was perfect. I think both students gained a real appreciation of the legal system. And I told them, this is what I want from you because I'm going to give you a task. I I said, I want you to listen to the hearings, especially those probation violation hearings on Monday afternoon. And I want you to tell me, as a layperson who's not in the court system, okay, was Judge Pitaro too harsh with that person? Was he too lenient with that person? What's the right amount? If someone violates, do you say, well, you had a 360-day sentence and, well, you tested positive once, now you're in jail for 360? That's probably too harsh. But then again, if somebody's had repeat violations every month for the first 4 months, it's probably time they get sentenced to their, have their sentence reimposed and they do it in jail. And then there's the in-between. So people will tell their stories, or lawyers will make arguments. And one thing that I thought was valuable to me was getting the input of two students who said, I really liked what you did with that person, or I really think that you were a little too lenient with that person, whatever it may be. And it was a good experience. So, but anyway, I wanted to share kind of a little bit of the dynamic of what goes on in Superior Court 5. I want to just take a little audience participation here. The last full year of statistics will tell me how many cases were filed in my court. With Judge Rickoff excluded from this experiment, anybody have any guesses of how many cases were filed the last year that we had stats for ELKR Superior Court 5 in a year? Okay, here 2,000, higher. 2,200, 5,000, 32. About 5,400 cases. So it happens that about 3,600 were civil. That's just a function of the small claims, the eviction and collection matters, and about 1,800 were criminal matters. And the crimes that are in my court are all the misdemeanors, of Class A, B, and C misdemeanors, and lower level felonies. So I think Judge Cristofino's on. He gets the murders up at the top of the felony chain, and then they'll go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see some 5s with habitual traffic offenders, a lot of 6s, and then mostly misdemeanors. So I'm not sentencing anyone to 10 years in jail or they got to go see or anything like that. But again, if you think about it, you might only see a handful of murders in a year, but you're going to see hundreds of possession of marijuanas. And my big crimes are possession of marijuana, possession of meth, possession of paraphernalia, and then the driving crimes, operating while intoxicated, operating while suspended, operating while never having a license. Those are my big half dozen that I see all the time. But you've got to imagine there are going to be tons of those. There are only a handful of the more serious crimes. So it's a high volume court for sure. I joke around. They publish statistics. All of our ELKR County judges are working really hard. On average, we do the work of about like 1.25 judges. And somewhere in Indiana, there's a judge doing 0.75 of his workload. And but at least they pay me 125% of the average. They don't do that. They do not do that. But good news is that we're going to be petitioning to add a couple of judicial officers. We have magistrates to help us. We can make an addition. We can possibly promote a commissioner to a magistrate, give them more authority to help with an assortment of cases. So in the next couple of years, that's going to all come down. And that actually leads me into my third point, the court consolidation and the courthouse project. I'm going to save the actual courthouse till the end, but I want to talk about a little background about court systems and how things work in Indiana. So we've got 92 counties in the state of Indiana. Every county has a circuit court. If you take a really rural county where that one circuit court judge can cover everything, all the criminal, civil, family, paternity, probate, guardianships, that judge might do everything. Now go to the opposite extreme. Let's go to Marion County, where you've got this Marion Circuit Court and maybe 40 other superior courts and some other city and town courts. You've got 4 dozen. What tends to happen when you have that many is that the courts will specialize. And this court will only hear criminal matters. This court will only hear civil or only family. ELKR County's kind of been in the middle. We're not so big as Marion County. We're not as small as some of the rural ones. So we have our circuit court. Judge Cristofino is the judge of our circuit court, sits down in Goshen. Then we have 6 superior courts. That does not include ELKR City Court, Goshen City Court, etc. So of the 7 courts, we all do an assortment. As I mentioned earlier, there are judges that'll do all 4 of the main kinds, as I call them. I do criminal and civil. But we've reached a point, especially with the new courthouse that's going up in the Dunlap area, where it makes sense to realign. So what we are going to do in ELKR County is have 3 divisions, the criminal, the family law, and the civil. So criminal is going to see 4 out of the, I'll say 8 judicial officers, main ones. We've got Judge Cristofino of Circuit Court. We've got Judge Osterday of Elkhart Superior Court 1, Judge Cataldo of Elkhart Superior 3, and Judge Lund of Elkhart Superior Court 4, which is our drug court. So those 4 courts are going to do eventually, in a couple of years, all criminal law. Family law, we have Judge Bonfiglio of Elkhart Superior Court 6, and also recently appointed Magistrate Elizabeth Bellin, who is going to handle a lot of family law matters. And we also have Commissioner Fox who assists there. So that will be the family law division. So that leaves 2 other judges, Judge Steve Bowers and myself. Judge Bowers is currently the judge of what is designated as one of the commercial courts. So he does see a lot of civil litigation, again, on a commercial level. My experience for my 24, 25 years was as a civil litigator. So it made sense for my court to be one that handles civil cases. So 2023, we're probably going to start redistributing some things and move, because we have so many pending cases. So there'll be some redistributions, and hopefully by 2024, we'll be ready for just having the filing of the different divisions in each of the respective courts. Let's think here. So the target date, that leads me to the courthouse. The target date for the completion of the courthouse project is summer of 2024, over 2 years away. So if we start realigning in 2023, hopefully by 2024, we'll be in good shape for that to take place. I try to come up with a top 10 list. This is just Chris's top 10 facts about the new courthouse. So for those who don't know, the location of the new courthouse complex is going to be close to the intersection of US 33 and the new County Road 17 overpass. So if you don't know, as a visual, if you're heading from Elkhart to Goshen on US 33, you go underneath the County Road 17 overpass, and the next right you can make is Reliance Road. If you make a right on Reliance Road and look to your immediate right, that's where the courthouse is. I am told, I know it's a 4-story building. There'll be different divisions on different floors. The main floor will house the clerk's office and probation, juvenile probation, public defender, public meeting areas, access to justice center, and eventually there will be a prosecutor's section on a different part of the complex. There won't be right now, they're still leased there. But in any event, there's this 4-story building that I'm told, because of the level, the height of each ceiling, it's going to look like a 7-story building. So it will be, I think, a fairly majestic area, and it'll kind of be the center of town. It's in between Elkhart and Goshen. So that's, look forward to it there. As far as the footprint, one quote I've heard is, it's got the footprint of a football field, including the end zones. So we've got 120 yards, give or take, and it's rectangular in shape. It really does mirror a football field. We broke ground in fall of 2021, just a few months back. Again, it's supposed to be completed by summer of 2024. A lot of people ask, what was the price tag of it? Some of you know by reading the papers. Otherwise, I'm told there's $94 million in bonds and some other funds that will go into it. I think it puts us a little north of $100 million project. It's going to be a magnificent project. It's on a trolley line, which is important, as people talked about the downtowns and how people could currently walk to the Elkhart Courthouse or the Goshen Courthouse. Not everyone owns a car, and a lot of my small claims defendants or criminal defendants might not have transportation, so we wanted to make sure there was public transportation. There will be a roundabout at the front of the courthouse for easy drop-offs. Inside, I'm very excited. There's going to be a beautiful statue of Lady Justice, which I think will signify to everyone the importance of what's going on in the courthouse. Next fact, random fact, is I think I've heard many pros and cons, and as my wife knows, I tell my daughters all the time, there are pros and cons to everything in life. You can make a list of, these are all the good things I like, these are all the bad things. And I know that taking courthouses out of the downtowns is a serious issue, and there are business owners, there are law firms with offices across the street right now. There are auto body shops that for years have been thrilled that people could drop off a car, go to the court hearing, come back later. It was great for everybody. That's not going to happen. At the same time, we're going to be centralized. We're not going to have multiple clerks' offices. We're not going to have repetition of duties, and we're going to be able to pool all those resources in one building, and also make modern technology with all the WebEx hearings that go on these days, with all the special exhibits that might happen in a trial where someone wants to push a button and show a video. We're going to have that in the new courthouse. But one of the reasons on that level of why it was determined we needed to do this is there's so many different aspects. Number one is security reasons. For those who don't know, down in Goshen, currently Judge Lund's courtroom and chambers are in the basement. She doesn't have her own bathroom. She needs to go down the hall and use the public restroom with the criminal defendants she just sentenced. You know, maybe she sentenced someone to probation, they're walking out, and maybe they linger and she needs to go to the restroom. There's some concern there. Another one, not handicap accessible. It's a beautiful courthouse in Goshen. Those stairs that go up, there's no ramp. For years, there was a ramp around the side, and once you get inside, there's 4 stairs and a little elevator for staff. Accessibility issues came into play. The leaking roof in both courthouses just had issues with structural stability, leaking roofs, heating and cooling systems. I can tell you, my wife will tell you, I am so hot in the winter when the heat's blowing, and then I'm hot in the summer when the air conditioner's not working. And there seems to be, as Judge Bowers will say, well, there are 2 settings. There's way too hot and way too cold. So that's an issue that I hope will be rectified. And then I don't have to loosen my tie all the time. And then finally, I think it's important that it's located between the 2 biggest cities in the county, between ELKR and Goshen, where it won't be too far to travel from either direction. I think what else? Those are my top 10s. Oh, on a related note, I knew there was something I wanted to share. We currently have an ELKR City Bar Association. We have a Goshen City Bar Association. In the last couple of years, we've been talking about merging the courthouses. Years ago, it seemed like Goshen lawyers would only file their civil cases down there, and ELKR lawyers would file up in ELKR. I think there's been more camaraderie over the years, and at least there's talk about consolidation of the bar associations. So let's see. I can tell you that commissioners are working hard. The commissioners have involved the judges. Judge Cristofino can attest. We've had many meetings between the designers and the judges where our input is being asked, which is wonderful. It's important to know that, okay, the way you have it with your witness chair, someone didn't consider that the way the jury box is, that last juror is not going to see the witness. That's important. Or someone's going to need to know that if the judge can't easily work with his court reporter or bailiff, it needs to be a little closer or we're going to have issues. And those are just 2 examples of many examples that we've shared over the years. Every time there's been a new design, it's great, you took care of that issue, but we need to also address this new one that we just thought of. So there's been a lot of close contact, and I appreciate being involved. And I appreciate having the design shared with me. And if anybody wants, I can talk afterwards and give you some information where I can share some things with you. But for now, I'm happy that the courthouse building is on its way to being consolidated. I don't usually do this in a brief. You do it, Judge. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Here are all the arguments. This is what I just told you, and why I want you to rule in my favor. So I don't have to do that, but in honor of Sister Elizabeth Marie, my 6th grade teacher. So I told you a little bit about myself, and I told you a little bit about ELKR Superior Court 5, and now I've told you a little bit about the courthouse project and the realignment. So with that, thank you for listening to me. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to try to answer.
Oh, let's see what.
Thanks for coming today. I had a couple of quick questions. One would be, the first question is, the new building looks to be about 520,000 square feet.
I'd be lying to you if I told you that I knew these square feet offhand. I have to go. Yeah, oh, thank you. Yep. So to repeat the question, it seems like the new courthouse is.
How does that compare to the amount of space that is in all the courthouse all around now?
Yeah, so the original statement was that looks like the courthouse is going to be 525,000 square feet. And how does that compare to what we have now? I don't know the second part of your question either. I believe we're going to have much more room. In particular, the main floor is going to have an access to justice center that is extremely large, where people could come in and maybe do some research, maybe get some forms, be able to take care of things on their own. There's going to be a large jury assembly room, which we currently don't have. So in a big case where we have a number of jurors called, right now, I just had a jury trial last week, and we had, as the lawyers started what we call voir dire, to ask questions about prospective jurors, we had jurors in the jury box, we had jurors in the gallery, you know, beyond the rail, inside my courtroom, and we had other prospective jurors upstairs in room 203 watching by video. And it was really kind of funny because the Elkhart City Bar meeting was supposed to be meeting at noon. We're at about 11:15. We cleared out some jurors, promoted some from the gallery to the box, and it was going to be a tight squeeze. I said, we need to bring everybody down because the lawyers are going to want to eat their lunch. But anyway, we're struggling for space. So I can only imagine that this is going to be so much more space to allow us to do the things
No,
we
it's
need to
not.
do, but I can't put numbers on it.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Were you not at any of the fucking meetings?
Judge Judy's case is real, and then I have.
Well, I'll start with that one. Our Judge Judy's case is real. I grew up in the 70s watching Judge Wapner, so I think they might do a similar disclaimer where, you know, the people here are not actors or actual litigants who have agreed to have their cases settled in this forum, the People's Court. And that forum is kind of like, it's the equivalent of saying, I'm not going to go to trial in court. I'll have an arbitrator decide my case. And Judge Wapner would sit here and hear things, and Judge Judy does the same thing. So if she's following the same rules as Judge Wapner, then yes. And then you had another question.
Have you ever watched Judge Judy?
I have watched both Judge Wapner and Judge Judy.
I'll pay $5.
Well, I will do that. And I did notice, and I haven't watched a Judge Judy episode in years, but I just noticed it's now Justice Judy because did she switch networks or something? And I don't know, Judge Judy, Justice Judy sound pretty similar to me. But anyway, I think it's Justice Judy. Yes.
You mentioned that you had a day where you had probation violations. What percentage of cases are repeated like that?
Yeah. Chris Pitaro's take, I would venture to say that 75% of the sentences that I hand down and say, instead of going to jail for 360 days, you've got probation, I'll see them at some point in the next 360 days. That's my rough estimate, just based on the volume I'm seeing and how many. It's really sad that someone could be sentenced and a month or two later they're already violating, and then 7 months later they're on their fourth violation. That four's too many. I've kind of, when I had those students talking to me, I kind of said, I'm a baseball fan. I'm really a fan of the 3 strikes and you're out. So maybe the first time it's, you know what, you're gonna do some CALC weekends, go to jail for a weekend, or do some community service. And then the next one is gonna be, you know what, now instead of being on probation, you're gonna be on community corrections with an ankle monitor. And then third time, okay, I think you need to go to jail and finish off your sentence in jail. You know, 2 strikes, swing and a miss. So.
I just want to say it's been very refreshing to have you here. You know, sometimes the whole court system is a little scary, you know. My grandson went to school with your daughter, your favorite daughter.
And I want everyone to know I did not feed that. And Jody's here, and he came up with that by himself. It might have been because I just told him I was at Wrigley Field with my daughter yesterday, and I haven't seen my oldest daughter, who gave me my first grandson, or my middle daughter, who just got married in October in a week or so. Anyway, but I'm sorry.
Anyway, he grew up with your daughter, so I got to hear a lot as you were running for a judge. So first of all, thank you for, you know, just following Judge Rickhoff as well as a great example. That's awesome. So what is your daughter doing in Chicago?
So I'll go in order. My first one, who gave me the grandson, is working doing computer things that neither my wife nor I can really accurately describe. But she's doing very well and has a house that was just built and it's bigger than ours. So kudos to her. My second daughter, who graduated from Bethel College, she works at Bowling Vision Center and she's in Mishawaka. They're both college graduates. My youngest went to a semester of college. She did well. She got 4 B's and an A. She didn't find it hard, but while my older 2 are my athletes, my youngest is my musician. I don't know if anyone's in the Concord area, they might have heard Becky singing at something. She got through, in the middle of her first semester at UIndy, she said, Dad, I don't really need college for what I want to do. I want to go into the music world. And you'll see my name in lights within 5 years. That was her quote. So she said, I want to move to a big city. First it was in California, then it was New York City, and then she settled on Chicago, which I think gives her a big city feel, but she could also come home without flying. So that's a good thing. So right now, she just changed jobs from working in at a Jewel grocery store, and just last week started as a hostess in a restaurant. and I think she likes the new job better, more human interaction. But in theory, once she's done with the 9-to-5 job, she'll have time in the evenings and on weekends to make her music. And as Jody and I have joked, I think she's realizing that being a grown-up and adulting is not all it's cracked up to be. It's tiring. So she's very exhausted and doesn't always have the energy and the desire to make music in the evenings and on weekends. But she did just meet up with another Concord high school person who's about 4 years older than she is, who moved from Elkhart to Indy to Chicago, so same map. And she's up there, and he started a small record label, and she wants to be signed by a record label, so they are collaborating. That's the latest.
Well, it is very awesome, and I'm very happy to hear that, so.
Excellent, thank you. It is 1 o'clock, so I know that's normally dismissal time. I don't have hearings until 1:30, so I can stick around for a little bit if anybody has any other questions. Okay, thanks so much.
I don't know how this works out, where 2 weeks in a row I have to come give the hook to people. So it's Chris Seymour, the chief of police last week, and then it's Mataro this week. What's the deal? These are people you want to be on their good side. I have to share it next week. There you go. That's right. I have to tell you, if you haven't, it's okay to spend a little time in these courtrooms. I've told this story maybe a couple times, but not to Rotary. I happened to be at City Hall waiting for an appointment, and I had some time to spend and kill, and I happened to just sit inside while Judge Grodnick was doing his judging thing, and I was maybe there for 45 minutes. It's fascinating to me to see people that you know and you have an acquaintance with, and I didn't get to see that of Judge Rickoff, and I can only guess from Cristofino the personalities that you see in people, how neatly that translates, especially when you have such high quality people. Even if Chris is a Kiwanian, it's but it's neat, and thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate your Chris's top 10. I have a quick question for you. So this is Fran. I echo that. Sometimes it's scary, and I got a letter from you that you didn't sign a couple months ago that said, be here on this date, you're going to do this. There was a nice little bit of information on how to be a juror. That was a couple months ago. Weeks in advance, I got both a text and I think it was maybe a phone call recording that said I didn't have to show up. And it was on April 7th, which was a Thursday. Why? So I filled out a survey, a questionnaire. What are possibilities for why I didn't get called back in? And
real briefly is about 90% of the trials that we set are for criminal matters, and often as a criminal defendant's trial is approaching, they might have second thoughts about whether they want to go to trial or take that plea deal that allow them to get away with no jail time. And if they plead, then that will vacate a date. But we will often set, roughly 5 in order, expecting that one will plead, two will plead. Okay, do we still have one left at the end? And then for civil cases, it might just be that people settled, maybe they went to mediation, maybe not, but they resolved their dispute, they no longer need a trial.
Thank you. I just thought that might be useful information. All these years, I've never actually gotten called, and I just wondered what I was doing wrong. How I was answering those questions. Everybody always has those. This is how you avoid jury duty. Are any of those true? And just are there ways you can BS your way out of being? Chris will neither agree nor deny. Yep, that's it. Chris, thank you so much. Jody and Charmaine, thank you both for being here today. Everyone, it's so great to see more faces back here. I didn't say it last week, but several of you, it was your first meeting back from maybe having been enjoying a sunnier climate. Is that right? Are there any more first timers here, sort of back for the season? Hey, Bob Schultz, there you go. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Continue to serve in the community, and we'll see you all again very shortly.